action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. Feeling pretty good today. Wasn't betting very good last night, though, coming off a rough one. 1-3-1. My Pittsburgh Penguins came through. Chicago Bulls blowing, what was that, a 16-point lead at halftime? They got outscored by about 16 points in the fourth quarter. Not very good. And how about the that Boston Celtics Miami Heat game? So I got the Celtics at +3. About an hour after the show goes off air here, the Celtics come out and announce that Brogdon, Smart, Al Horford, and Jaylen Brown all are going to miss the game. So I'm thinking, what's going on here? I'm completely screwed. The spread ends up going up to, I think it only moved about 1.5 points. Maybe that was a bit of a tell. And then the hour before game time, the Heat announced Jimmy Butler was sitting. So maybe I deserved to push on that one. I thought I was getting a little bit of a break with Butler. Not the case, but we live to bet another day. That day is today. So we will look to bounce back. We're going to try to get a little bit of help from my co-host today. My co-worker, Vegas Insider. Let's bring him in. Down deep in the heart of Florida. What's going on, Kevin? You catch the game last night?
Which game? The Heat game or the Panthers game?
Any of them.
I watched most of the Panther game, and it was a tough loss for them, losing to Pittsburgh in overtime. They need all the points they can get at this point, and obviously the Heat found a way to win that game. It really doesn't mean revenge for losing to Boston last year at home in Game 7, so the Heat will be happy, I guess, with the meaningless regular season win over the Celtics. So life goes on, like you say.
Yeah, the Miami Heat, I pick on them quite a bit around here because, you look at their injury report any given game day, it's a total embarrassment. They still have Alonzo Mourning listed on their injury report, for God's sakes. That's how many guys they have on it. Every game day, absolutely brutal. But Miami Heat, they're playing pretty good basketball. I pointed them out at 36-1 yesterday to win the NBA championship. It looks like a year that's wide open, exact same roster as the team that went to 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics. But that's enough Miami Heat talk, Kevin. We got a lot to get into: NBA, college hoops, NHL. So let's get right into the action. We're going to start things off in the NBA. We go down deep into the heart of Texas for the first pick. I'm going to take the Wizards coming in at -2.5 over at BetMGM this morning versus those Houston Rockets. So second game of a back-to-back here for the Wizards, and they absolutely thrive in this spot. They're coming off a win last night versus Dallas. They are 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games, while in the second game of a back-to-back. They're going to have a major defensive advantage in this game, 9th versus 27th in opponent EFG percentage over the last 10 games. Rockets are allowing the second most threes per game in this span. Also 4th versus 22nd in opponent free throw attempt rate, favoring the Wizards, of course. And check this out for the Rockets. So Houston won and covered versus the T-Wolves on Monday. However, they've covered the spread in consecutive games just once over the last month. Going back even a bit further, they've covered the spread in consecutive games just twice since November 28th. The span of 28 games. Absolutely brutal stuff here for the Rockets. Give me the Wizards to inch a little bit closer to 500 on the season. All right, Kevin, over to college hoops we go. What's your first pick?
Joe, we're going to start in the Valley, the Missouri Valley Conference, and we're going to back the Panthers of Northern Iowa tonight. UNI, they take on Valparaiso, and this number has dropped a little bit, I guess, in favor of UNI. Sometimes sometimes the line movement, it depends, the sharp, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But looking at the numbers for this game, Valparaiso's actually picked it up of late. They've won 3 straight, but they've beaten some of the dogs of the MVC. Illinois State's 3-7 in the conference. UIC's 1-10. Evansville's 0-10. That's who Valpo just beat. So not exactly great teams, considering Northern Iowa is 7-3 in the Valley. Also 6-1. Straight up 5-2 against the spread the last 7 games. Last time they played back on January 4th, Joe, UNI won by just 2 on the road at Valpo. Now laying a little bit more, I think, back at home. Northern Iowa will have a better performance against Valpo. Also, I'm not too fazed by the 3-game winning streak by Valparaiso. So let's go with UNI. Lay the points with them tonight against Valpo.
All right, back to the NBA we go. We're off to the West Coast. Sacramento playing host to the Toronto Raptors. I like the Kings to cover the spread, coming in at -3 in this one. And this one is all about a major offensive advantage for the Kings. EFG percentage over the last 10 games, first versus 24. Raptors are 26th. An opponent EFG percentage in that span. Huge edge from three-point land. Sacramento, the #1 three-point shooting team in the NBA over the last 10 games. Raptors 28th. An opponent three-point percentage in that span. And digging a bit even further, we take a look at the home-away shooting splits. Sacramento, #1 in EFG shooting percentage at home on the season. The Raptors are 29th on the road. Like the beam! Give me the Kings. Ever. All right, back to college hoops we go. What do you got next, Kevin?
In the Big East, Joe, two teams going different directions. Butler and Providence meeting up at Dunkin' Donuts Center, one of your favorite arenas in the world. I'm going to back the Butler Bulldogs here and taking the points with them. Now, obviously, Butler's going one way, wrong way. Providence is going the right way. But Butler, though, they've lost 4 of 5. They've gotten blown out in all those losses. The only win coming against a Villanova team that's dropped off big time this year. And Butler just lost by 30 to UConn. Kind of a bad spot for Butler, considering UConn was on a bit of a losing streak, kind of a get-right game. They got their head coach, Dan Hurley, back, and UConn destroyed them. Also, Butler lost by 21 to Creighton. They're 3-7 in the Big East. But there is, I know, revenge spot, but I like it more, Joe, kind of like a value spot here. Providence undefeated at home in the Big East, also 7-2 in the conference. They did beat Butler 72-52 back in December, but look at that number on the screen. They were getting 3 in that game at Butler. Now, all of a sudden, Providence, a much heavier favorite here. Everyone's really down on Butler for the way they played. And yeah, this is not the Gordon Hayward days of Butler anymore, but I still think there's value in the Bulldogs tonight. I think they play better after getting blown out the last few games. Let's take the points with Butler against Providence, Joe.
All right, the Bulldogs as a dog, 10.5. Like that one. Okay, my favorite prop of the night for the NBA. Big Raptors Kings show today. I'm going to take Harrison Barnes to have over 2.5 3-pointers plus money on this one, coming in at +112. This man is absolutely on fire from the land beyond the arc. He's hit 6. He's hit this over 2.5 threes in 6 of his last 8 games, which includes 5 or more threes on 4 different occasions. His volume is way up this month, averaging more than 2 3-point attempts per game in January compared to in December. And to bring it all together, the Raptors are getting absolutely killed from the land beyond the arc. 28th in opponent 3-point percentage over the last 10 games, allowing the 4th most threes per game in this span. Beautiful number on Barnes to have at least 3 threes. All right, Kevin, your final pick of the show. What are you looking at?
Going to go to the Atlantic 10, and it's been a bit of a rough ride for the Ramblers of Loyola Chicago. A few years removed from being in the Final Four. Well, it's been more than a few years, but they moved the Atlantic 10 this year, and they started 0-6. They finally got their first win over the weekend, beating St. Bonaventure. I do like them, though, tonight, getting the points at Duquesne. And when you look at Loyola Chicago, again, last place in the Atlantic 10, it's been tough. But also, they've had the 4th toughest schedule inside the conference. The 3 teams that are ahead of them for last place, UMass, Rhode Island, and LaSalle, Loyola hasn't played any of them yet. They've lost to VCU, St. Louis, some of the best teams in the conference. George Washington has improved. George Mason's been pretty good. So Loyola, definitely one of the tougher schedules. I said on the screen, play the toughest one. Technically not the toughest, but still very tough. Anyway, for Duquesne, they've lost 2 in a row. The offense has not been there. They've scored 56 and 58 in those games. I'm not just expecting a bounce back for Duquesne in this game. I think Loyola, even though they got a long way to go in the conference, that they hang in this one with Duquesne, have a little bit of momentum after beating St. Bonaventure over the weekend. I like Loyola Chicago, Sister Jean getting the points tonight against Duquesne.
All All right, next up we move to the ice and we start things off in beautiful Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, where the Islanders are in town. Everyone talking about this game. Give me the Senators on the full game money line, minus 120. So a major analytical mismatch favoring Ottawa, of course. In this one, let's dig into it. Expected goals for percentage over the last 10 games, 4th versus 27th, 9th versus 27th in high danger chances for percentage, and 8th versus 26 in Corsi percentage. Corsi, my new favorite stat. Ilya Sorokin expected to be between the pipes for the Islanders. He's usually a reason why you back them. Not lately. He's playing his worst hockey of the season. 16 goals allowed in his last 4 starts. He's going to see a lot of action tonight versus a Sens team that puts a lot of pucks on net. And the Islanders, past couple weeks, no need to sugarcoat it. One of the worst teams in hockey. 1-9 in their last 10 games overall. 1-7 in their last 8 on the road. Give me the Senators at home. Minus 120. And we bring it home. The marquee game of the night in the NHL. We got Carolina in Dallas taking on the Stars. This game has a total of 6, and I absolutely love the under in this one. So check out each of these goaltenders. Absolute brilliance from the 2 expected starters in this one. Frederik Andersen, the pride of Denmark, expected to start for Carolina here. Now, he's been back for 4 games since his injury, and he's been absolutely lights out. A 1.75 goals against average in those 4 games. He's taking on Jake Ottinger, the pride of Lakeville, Minnesota, a great American goaltender. He's on an absolute tear to start the year. A 1.74 goals against average in 8 starts this month. Go back a bit further. 2 or fewer goals allowed in 9 of his last 12 starts. Dallas playing elite defensive hockey, last 10 games, top 6 in the NHL in both expected goals allowed and high danger chances allowed. They also have the 4th best penalty kill in the league. As a result of that playing great goaltending, they are on a 9-2 under tear over their last 11 games. Meanwhile, check out the Canes, keeping pucks off net, certainly above average defensively, at the very least. 4th fewest shots allowed over the last 10 games. Number 1 in Corsi. Against, absolutely love the under tonight. And beautiful Dallas. Woo! Indeed. What was that? 8 picks in by 10 minutes? Wasting time talking Miami Heat basketball off the top of the show. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, do me a favor. You know what I'm going to say if you watch the show. Hit the like button down there. And hit the sub button down there, too. Especially if you like the show, you know. Give us likes, give us subs. Makes us look good, right? Okay, so that was 8 total picks, guys. If you're looking to tail any of those picks, if you're looking to fade any of them, the choice, quite simply, is yours. I recommend placing your action over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS and get a $50 bonus bet plus up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. That's a VI bonus, all one word, no spaces, and you get a $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win. That's a pretty good deal. Once again, just use the code VI bonus. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older to wager. Offers for new customers only. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Yeah. Indeed. All right, Kevin. So I need you to weigh in on conference championship weekend here. I think that these 2 games are very, very difficult to handicap, and it's mostly because of the unknown. So let's start with 49ers, Eagles. And of course, the big question mark here is Brock Purdy. You know, maybe he is the second coming of Tom Brady, you know, Mr. Irrelevant. It's a great storyline. If they end up advancing to the Super Bowl, it's going to be shoved down our throats for the next 2 weeks. But, you know, Purdy's coming off a game versus a really good Dallas Cowboys pass rush, actually. And he actually ended up looking fairly normal in that game. He didn't really play bad by any means. But San Francisco ended up going a bit conservative with their offensive game planning. Now he's going into a situation in the cold, maybe not that big of a deal, but on the road in Philadelphia, a hostile crowd, facing a team that led the NFL in sacks by a wide margin. This is easily going to be the most uncomfortable he's been at any game in his life. So how do you think Purdy does? Is he finally going to hit that wall, or should we keep backing him here in this game?
Joe, I looked up the road games for the San Francisco 49ers this season, and it feels like they haven't played a lot of them recently just because they had the 2 home games in the playoffs. They beat Arizona in Week 18. And granted, a lot of these happened with either Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. But I want to just read this to you, that the teams they've lost to on the road, Chicago, Denver, Atlanta, that's not good. And the teams they beat on the road, at Carolina, the Rams, who are awful, Colt McCoy in Arizona and Mexico, Seattle with Brock Purdy, and then Las Vegas, Jarrett Stidham lit them up, and they end up winning that game in overtime. So the point is that San Francisco was never really tremendous on the road this season, and they didn't play a lot of great teams in the overall. Kansas City destroyed them at home. They took care of their business when they had to. And look, that was a good win against Seattle in the first round, in the wild card round, beating Dallas last week. But now you're going to Philadelphia. It's a whole nother animal. Like you said, hostile crowd there. Eagles have been great at home this season. And really, when you look at the losses, Jalen Hurts didn't play in those games. Jalen Hurts has 1 loss this year against Washington on the Monday night. He didn't play in the Dallas game, and he didn't play in the New Orleans game. So Philadelphia is basically unbeaten with Jalen Hurts so far this season at quarterback. The Niners have been a bit vulnerable on the road, and a lot of those quarterbacks, when you look at the list of these teams they beat, I mean, Stidham, McCoy, Mayfield with Carolina, Stafford, who was banged up the whole season. They lost to Russell Wilson. They lost to Marcus Mariota. They lost to Justin Fields in week 1. I get it was a bad weather game. But still, this is a whole new situation for San Francisco. Yes, I'd feel differently if they were at home. But going on the road, can San Francisco win? Of course they could win this game. I just don't think they will.
Shades of Gonzaga basketball maybe for the San Francisco 49ers, beating up on dog shit all season. Now a stiff test. Now, to be fair, the Eagles haven't had a tough schedule either, but the big difference is, hey, they're here on their home field, right? So, yeah, we'll see how Purdy does. I'm not rooting against the guy. I just think San Francisco is going to go very conservative, and I think the Eagles' defense is going to be in his face for 60 minutes. Okay, probably even a more trickier situation. Of course, we go to the Bengals-Chiefs game, where the Bengals are now favored in this game. Some serious line movement in this one. And this one is all about the unknown of the most talented player in the game, Patrick Mahomes. This is a pretty big deal. We don't know what his situation, what his ability is going to be like. He might be perfectly fine. And if he is, the Chiefs are better off playing coy about it. He might be in really rough shape. Either way, the Kansas City Chiefs are not going to show their cards and tell you how Mahomes is doing. And for that reason, I don't really have much interest in betting on the spread in this game. All the logic certainly points to the Bengals here. Everyone knows the big story going into this game. They have 3 straight wins over the Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes was 100% healthy in all of those games. So the logic would point to the Bengals. People kind of sweeping it under the rug, though, a little bit. The Bengals' offensive line, that was the big storyline going into the Bills game, and probably, at least partially, one of the reasons for the line movement going against the Bengals in that one. Now, it's something the Bills weren't able to exploit, but the Chiefs do have a much better pass rush than the Buffalo Bills. So what do we think about this one, Kevin? Do you think it's a bit of an overreaction to the Mahomes potentially being limited here? Or, is this a complete stay away, at least as far as the spread for you?
It's both. It's a complete overreaction. It's a stay away because, look, these teams, I'm not going to say are pretty even, but when Cincinnati, they beat Kansas City 3 times since week 17 of last year. In all 3 games, the Chiefs led in the second half. So it's not like the Bengals have dominated them each time. And in Cincinnati, in Week 17 last year. Burrow had a huge game. Jamar Chase had a huge game. But also Kansas City was up 14-0 and 28-14. Bengals came back to kick the game-winning field goal. 21-3, the Chiefs were up in the AFC Championship. We know how that one ended up. And then even the last time this year in Cincinnati, where the Chiefs led in the second half and Cincinnati scored 10 in the fourth to beat them. So Kansas City is there. They're on the cusp. And they were laying 7 against Cincinnati in the AFC Championship last year. Now the Bengals are laying points. Obviously, yeah, Mahomes, we don't know if he could walk. We don't know anything about that. But we know Kansas City has been very close in these games with Cincinnati. They just can't close the door. And a lot of people are riding the Bengal train too, Joe, that they saw what happened against Buffalo last week, and the Bengals have been a great underdog. Now all of a sudden they're flipped to a road favorite. That role, not saying that they're not great in, but they've been more profitable in the underdog role. Now the value's been sucked out with that number flipping. I think he'll get points in this game personally, Joe. I don't love the side, but I think he'll get points in this game. If Mahomes can play and be somewhat decent, they still have so many weapons around. Travis Kelce had 14 catches against Jacksonville. There's still a lot of guys out there, and Burrow can put up points as well. We saw 2 unders the last 2 games with these two teams. There's been a lot of high-scoring AFC championships. Last 4 games have been at Arrowhead Stadium. They've all had 50 points or more. I think that we see another high-scoring game in some capacity. Don't know who's going to win, but I like the over more than I like the side in this game.
Yeah, I like the idea of maybe taking Mahomes out of the equation, going with the Bengals over on their team total of 23.5. Bengals, one of the best red zone offenses. Kansas City, I think the second worst red zone defense in the NFL. And like I said, I do think that Kansas City's pass rush will be able to get to Joe Burrow here, but I don't think they're going to totally keep them off the board by any means. Yeah, so I doubt we're going to get more information on Patrick Mahomes. It's just going to be wait and see, and you can guess either way if you want to take a side on the spread, but I'm going to take the Mahomes equation out of my betting and look into props and maybe that over on the Bengals team total. We shall see where the numbers move over the next couple of days. Okay, we put a poll up on our feed here on Twitter, Vegas Insider Twitter feed. Make sure you're following along. What's your pick for the AFC Championship game? We got people, the public side, it looks like, is the Bengals. And this one, people are riding the momentum. Tito saying, fluky performance by the Bengals in the AFC Championship last year, I think he's referring to. Well, what about the other 2 games? You know, you can't take anything away from the Bengals for their 3 wins over the Chiefs. The Chiefs choked that one away, to be fair, in the AFC title last year. But the Bengals still showed a little bit of grit. Came back from being down quite a bit at halftime in that one. So, yeah, we shall see. It's going to be interesting. Mahomes averages in AFC Championship games 297 pass yards, 3 TDs, a 113.7 QBR quarterback rating. If he's not able to get outside that pocket and improvise, I think that's his greatest ability, right? Gives the receivers extra time to get open. Maybe people undervaluing the Kansas City run game. I think Kansas City's defense a little bit better than people give them credit for. Tough game to bet on, really. I might just stick to props, like I said, for that one. Okay, guys. I now have to get my notes up here. I'm going to tell you guys about the Vegas Insider app right now. It gives you all of the major sports betting odds at your fingertips, along with picks and expert breakdowns. You can shop for the best odds, find props, features, and plenty more with the app. If you want more Vegas Insider content like our shows, videos, and podcasts, you can find it all on the app in the media section. Download the Vegas Insider app on Apple or Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. All right, let's get into some viewer picks here. The boys gave us a couple winners yesterday. Schreckengost, he's been really big on this one, taking the first period team total. I think he was on the one for the Montreal last night. He's hit 2 in a row of these for us. So make sure you give Nathan Schreckengost a follow on Twitter there. You can see his Twitter handle on the screen right now. He's going to fade the Blue Jackets in the first period tonight. Take under half a goal, -105. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Columbus has been scoreless in the first period and 16 of 19 on the road, including 11 straight. Edmonton ranks in the top 5 in expected goals allowed, Corsi against, and high danger chances against over the last 10 at home in 5-on-5 play. Edmonton has kept opponents scoreless in the first period in 5 of their last 7 at home. Fade the Blue Jackets. I got no problem with that one. All right, moving along here. All right, Bookie's worst nightmare. He's on Franz Wagner over 18.5 points. That one's coming in at minus 126. He's hit this in 16 of 20. And this Indy defense is nothing to be afraid of, and they play at a high tempo. Yeah, the Pacers defense absolutely stinks. I could see Wagner going over that number for sure. Looks like a good look from Bookie's worst nightmare. All right, moving right along. Here's our guy. He's becoming a bit of a darling here at chasing that paper in the CTP Crew Pick segment. Matty Puppy Sports, our resident trend better. He's hitting these. Make sure you give this guy a follow. Matty Puppy 17. He loves his trends for college hoops. He likes Auburn -5 versus Texas Tech. Tech has been good, but couldn't win last time versus Kentucky. Auburn is 16-3 and 6-1 in the conference. Auburn D is ranked 2nd in 3-point percentage, 5th in effective field goal percentage, and 11th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Texas Tech, not good 3-point shooting team. Auburn is a great home team. Good luck to Matty Puppy on Auburn -5. And we'll wrap things up with Ronnie Durante. Or Durante? Either way, he's got a look here for the NFC Championship game. He likes the Eagles' first half team total over 11.5. They led the league in first half scoring. Purdy looked ordinary versus the Cowboys, and I can see him turning the ball over early. Most diverse offense 49ers defense has faced, except for Kansas City maybe. I think that's fair to say. I can also see the Niners coming back to win this game, though, later in the game. So, yeah, first half look for Ronnie. Good luck to him with that one. Okay, guys, it's now time for today's Handicapper Heat Check presented by VegasInsider.com. Your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Scott Rickenbach smashed books yesterday with a perfect 4-0 all-sports sweep, and he's currently on a 7-1 college hoops win streak. Will Rogers continued his dominance, going on a 10-1 college hoops run and 5-1 NBA run. College basketball profits leader went 3-0 last night and is on a 7-1 run in the last 3 days. Visit VegasInsider.com/picks for tonight's best bets. That's your Handicapper Heat Check. Stay hot, bettors. Yeah, baby. All right, Kevin, winding right down. What can we see from you that you have out there in the internet world in terms of sports betting content?
We have an NBA video coming out in just a little bit for tonight. We went 3-0, Joe. 3-0 last night. We had the Clippers. Wow. We had the over in Wizards Mavs. We had the over on Jared Allen rebounds last night against the Knicks. So thank you. We'll see what happens tonight. You won't be clapping if I don't have a good performance tonight. But Wednesday NBA, we'll have that video up in just a little bit, and we also have more of a breakdown of that Bengals-Chiefs video on our YouTube channel. You have the breakdown of the Niners-Eagles as well. So we have that. And tomorrow, I think we'll have NHL and college basketball best bets as well on our YouTube for Thursday's action out there, Joe.
Yeah, all over the map. Make sure you head over to VegasInsider.com as well. A lot of great written content on the website. So no matter what the sport is, we get you covered here at Vegas Insider. Guys, make sure you check back in tomorrow. Same time, same place. Ian McMillan will be back with me. The red hot Ian McMillan killing the NHL lately. So I'm sure he'll have a handful of picks for you there. Then, of course, our big NFL show on Friday where we'll have a handful of picks for a conference championship weekend. Best of luck with your bets tonight. Unless, of course, you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Woo!